Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We have a great episode in store. Patrick Frank and George Kramb of Patient Partner. They're doing some really amazing things. I won't steal their thunder, but maybe just give you an opportunity, guys, just to introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, go for it, Pat. Yeah, so Patrick Frank, COO and co-founder of Patient Partner. I really like to sum up like the role of a COO is simply like keeping the wheels on a company and making a move as fast as possible. So in so many words, that's essentially what I do, being in a startup here. So yeah.
And I'm the CEO and co-founder as well. And yeah, I manage majority of the time is the sales process. Reaching out to new customers, walking them through the sales journey, trying to get more business, and then trying to make sure everybody is happy within the company.
Cool. And of course, I'm just looking at your background. Is that real or is that a fake background?
I don't know how many times you must get asked that on a daily basis, but it is in fact real. It's we're in San Diego, California.
Oh boy. And well, hats off to you if you can be productive with that in the background.
It's nice to know. It's like we see it on the outside. We're like, hey, one day we can go enjoy that.
Exactly. Got your office tan. Yeah. So let's just maybe give us a bit of an overview of Patient Partner. I mean, if you want, you can pull up a slide or two or the website or do a little demo, but just help our audience understand what Patient Partner does.
Yeah. So the way I like to describe Patient Partner in a nutshell is we created a patient connectivity platform in which we help patients go through health journeys by simply connecting them to another patient who is similar to them and relatable to them who's already been through that journey. And so we, when we built our technology, we really actually built it for industry. So majority of our clients today are like pharmaceutical companies, and we work with some medical device companies. And what we really do is we really kind of build like branded mentorship programs. Mm-hmm. So, and the purpose behind that is like, as somebody, wants to come learn about drug A, they can go to the, druga.com, they can read all the information, they can, read some static brochures. But what we really wanted to do is we wanted to bring a dynamic experience into the market. And so imagine instead of reading brochures, you can actually get connected with somebody who's similar to you, who's currently taking that drug. It provides a significantly more intimate and dynamic way for you to actually go and figure out, hey, is this drug going to be a good fit for me or not?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think like as we think about like historically, these enterprise, companies in the industry, they've had these patient support programs, these PSPs that they've essentially branded as like essentially what George said which is brochures and websites and chatbots and things like that. And we look at it and we say like, patients nowadays are nothing more than consumers of healthcare, right? And in our lives being consumers, we have every single thing you could possibly imagine in terms of our decision making. We can learn so much about any product we're either shopping for or a service. And we kind of bring that modern age into this idea of patient support and providing personalized experiences back to the most important decisions you're making in your life.
Cool. And what was the inspiration behind the business?
It's funny, we both have, when we started this company, we both kind of had different types of health experiences that are happening, and it just so happened to be like happening at the same time. So on my side, it was actually right after our second kid. Sadly, my wife got a cancer diagnosis.
Oh boy!
And yeah, I mean, she's doing great now, but this was 6+ years ago.
Yeah.
And at that time when we met with the oncologist, when we got the diagnosis, he then proceeded to walk us through like 4 or 5 different treatment options. And then he kind of threw the ball in our court. He's like, so what do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
And I remember when we were sitting in that room, I felt like how most patients feel. I felt like paralyzed. Like I have no clue what the right path is. And through an experience I actually saw at work, I was a medical device rep prior to starting this company, is I saw a patient ask the doctor who was, contemplating wanting to go through a knee replacement. And he asked the doctor, he goes, hey, doc, do you have like a past knee replacement patient that you can connect me with?
Right.
And we're sitting in that room going like, that is so smart. Like such a good idea. Like that's exactly what I need. And so I in turn called our oncologist and asked if he had another mom that went through a similar treatment and if he was able to help connect my wife with her. And he did. And I really got to see the impact of what like a mentor could really bring, and especially during like a challenging diagnosis and a challenging health.
Wow. And so what did she do? She shared her experience that influenced obviously the path that your wife and you chose for her?
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to describe it is like when my wife got paired up, her name was Alexis, that was her mentor. When they got paired up, they were like talking almost daily, phone calls, text messages, things like that. And what I saw happen over like a 3 or 4 week period was really the inspiration for me to go all in on this, which is I saw this like emotional and behavioral change that happened in my wife. She went from being scared, nervous, unsure to after talking with Alexis, after like 3 or 4 weeks, I saw her like turn to becoming like empowered, prepared, confident. And she elected to move forward with her treatment. And I remember her saying, it's like, I would not have been able to get through this if it wasn't for Alexis. So I got to, not only see it, from my own eyes, but I also got to hear it from my wife, like how influential like a mentor can really be.
Cool. So tell us about the types of work that you're doing with your clients then. You mentioned an oncology case, well, I mean, that was your wife's situation, but not that they use this, but what are some of the use cases that you're seeing?
Yeah, so we work with pharmaceutical companies pretty much in like 2 different fashions. And I'm going to talk predominantly on the commercial side. We are starting to do some clinical business, but on the commercial side, we either work with patient marketing teams. So those are the teams that are like running all the TV ads, the Facebooks, and all that stuff, right? And most commonly, what they're tasked to do is to grow new patient starts. Like, how do they get a patient who's diagnosed with this disease aware of our drug, and how do we get them to go and talk with a doctor?
Yeah.
And so we, use the mentorship program to help them go like, hey, instead of sending them to brand.com and just kind of hoping that they're going to click a button, like, why don't we give them an experience for them to learn? And when they do get connected with a mentor, the likelihood of them actually starting treatment is very high. Like with most of our clients, it's like 80% or higher.
Oh, wow.
Then on the flip side, we also work with patient services teams. So that's all postscript. So once somebody has clinical conviction, what we see a lot with some of these therapies is that during the onboarding process, it could be really challenging for a patient to adopt a new treatment journey, right? And so we team up with the patient services team to offer the mentor program to help with reducing abandonment and reducing or improving adherence. Yeah. So from the point of getting their first script, how do we make sure that they actually go and fill it? And then how do we make sure they get refill 1, refill 2, refill 3? And a mentor can play an influential role with that like onboarding process.
And that's duplicative across not just pharmaceuticals and pharma companies. It's also with med tech and med device.
Yeah.
And as George mentioned, there's, we're entering into more of the clinical space as well. And in other areas such as like fertility, working with some of the larger clinics. Because at the end of the day, you think about what George said around an 85% activation rate for new patient starts. I mean, that helps everybody, right? And so, it can be really utilized across so many different avenues across healthcare. But the main focus points is, patient activation, patient retention.
Yeah.
Right. The 2 main points.
And so in a nutshell, that's your value prop, right?
Yeah, patient activation, patient retention, all through personalized journeys and accountability, right? So it's, you think about the analogy I like to give is you go to a new city, I'm a foodie, but it's like, I go to a new city, I'm researching all the restaurants to go to, right? I could read anything I want on Yelp, patient website, or, I could talk to a local there who's lived there all their life, someone in my, network or someone I reach out to. And there's like, my patient mentor, if you will, and they're telling me to go to one place, I'm going to go there. Right. Yeah. It helps you kind of make those decisions because you feel reinforced with, and validated with what you were thinking about doing.
Yeah. Somebody somebody that's relatable to you.
Yeah.
Like you go read a review on Yelp. You're like, how do I know this guy's the same taste as me?
Right. So what's your revenue model then?
I think that.
Yeah. So our revenue model is we essentially work on an annualized basis with enterprise contracts, right? So they're paying for access to the platform to be able to utilize and build out these mentorship programs. And we really like integrate into their entire businesses, right? So if you think about like that full cycle patient journey, it's not just on that front end, it's actually on the back end of the patient journey as well. And I think a question we get a lot of the time too is, with enterprise contracts, one of the biggest hurdles is like integrating any type of new process, program, platform, you name it.
Yeah.
And we have an entire team that's dedicated to working hand in hand to make sure with their internal teams, make sure there's no major lift, no, crazy process changes. And it fits right in seamlessly, because the last thing anybody wants is like another platform having to log into, another thing that they have to go train the entire company on. So we really make sure that it's seamless.
Yeah. And to answer your question a little bit more directly, so it's like a license agreement.
Yeah.
And the way we like to structure it, like, we understand how majority of these companies go through budgeting cycles. And so we try to keep the fee somewhat fixed.
Yeah.
And it's for unlimited usage. So we don't want to prevent or bar any potential patient from utilizing this. We want any patient to be able to have access to it. And so think of it kind of like an all-you-can-eat buffet for one price.
Right. And I imagine there's a mobile experience as well.
Yeah. Sorry to use all the food acronyms here.
Clearly we're hungry.
Yeah.
No, but from the mobile experience side, what we realized is like, people are tired of logging into so many different apps. So we actually built a web app experience, so it feels native to any mobile device. Feels like you're on an app, but it's actually web-based. So it can be used. Patients can connect with mentors on their phone, any device. And then same way for our clients, right? They have an entire dashboard that they log into where they can see the analytics behind how well the platform and program is working, in their disease state.
Cool. So I know you guys, you raised a pretty significant seed round. I mean, obviously the buzz in the market right now is just how difficult it is these days to raise money. Tell us a little bit about your journey, and maybe if you could share a few secrets with us, that would be, or maybe just share your experience. Let me just put it like that.
Sure.
He doesn't have hair anymore.
No, I mean,
there's your experience.
It's funny. It's like everybody looks at the headlines, and when you do successfully raise capital, we wanted to obviously get some PR, and we got some coverage on it.
Yeah.
But what is not shown is all the failed attempts, right? Yeah. So for all the founders out there who are going through the fundraising process, and they feel like they're pounding their head on the wall, like every founder goes through that. Yeah. And we got fortunate. We found the right investor that believed in this idea and believed in this concept and wanted to, jump aboard and jump on the ship with us. Yeah. And so, I mean, if I were to give or lend any advice, it's one, perseverance and grit go a long way. Yeah. You're going to get a lot of people to tell you no, and you'll probably start second guessing and questioning whether or not you actually have a viable business. Yeah. But you will eventually find your investment fund or your partner, whoever it is, that believes and sees the vision that you see. Yeah. And so it's going to take a lot of calls. It's going to take a lot of no's, but you'll eventually find somebody that has the same vision as you, and those are the people you want to work with.
Hey, think about this, like if you were to go to like a dating event, right? Like think about it, right? You go to X amount of dating events, you're going to get rejected by 100 people at each of those events. Right. A couple hundred people. Eventually, maybe you find your one person. Because at the end of the day, when you're getting investment from any type of VC injection, it's like getting married. You're living with them every day, right? So it's really the same concept.
And so, I mean, how did you approach it? I mean, did you start with a list? Did you network? I mean, what was, maybe how did you I don't know, or did you was it like, look, we got to just full court press, anyone who wants to talk to us will, we're willing to talk, or was there any sort of thought or strategy behind the approach?
I think it evolved over time.
Yeah. I mean, it evolved over time, and you really have to turn to your network. I mean, you're not going to get a meeting with a venture capitalist by cold email. You can turn to alternative social media platforms that do work. Like I got some success on Twitter and things like that. Yeah. But the way that you get this process started is, one, exercise your network, ask for introductions, ask for referrals, and then go to conferences. Like there's tons of these like HLTH and Vive or VEAG, whatever the hell it's called. You have to go to those, and then you have to be an absolute dog at those events. What I mean by that is, like, you cannot be shy, and you cannot, go, oh, I think they're going to come up to me. You have to go and force yourself and put yourself in uncomfortable situations to get recognized, to get a meeting, etc.
Well, also, those are the kind of founders they want to talk with in the first place. Yeah. Right? You're not willing to just go talk to them. Like, you're not willing to go through what it takes to grow a business. Yeah. I think there's you layer that with like everything George just said, by putting yourself out there, you have to do it across it's like omni-channel in the same way, right? Like you have to be present on social, showcasing like the momentum of your business. So you have some widespread awareness. You're attacking, in person, gritty, getting in front of people, and then leveraging your network as well. I mean, it's across every single, essentially shot on goal that you can find. And I think that it's like, there's this classic like notion in the fundraising world where it's like, hey, like choose your investor, like the exact right person. It's like, we want to go get, Bessemer, AZ16 to go invest. So it's like, sure, we could want that all day long, right? But it's that, the right thing for the company. I mean, we're able to find incredible partners who have deep experience in the healthcare landscape, digital health. I mean, you go after who are the experts in your industry because they're going to understand what you're doing. If they understand it, then it makes it easier for them to invest.
Yeah. Cool. So apart from, obviously fundraising, which you were successful at, what other challenges? What are you seeing in the market right now? Especially because you're selling into pharma, you're selling into med tech. Obviously, there's a little bit of change happening right in the environment right now. What's your outlook?
Well, the first thing you have to understand is like when you sell into this industry, you sell into pharma, large enterprise. One, you have to account for a long sales cycle. That's the one thing I gotta tell everybody is don't feel like these people are going to wake up the next morning and be able to sign a contract with you. There's so many checks and balances that they have internally that they have to go through. So even if they are motivated, you're talking months and months. That said, like one of the things that I am seeing and we're continuously to see is I'm calling it like a paradigm shift in the industry. And I'm going to talk mainly on pharma because it's happening more in pharma than it is in med device right now. But what it is that there used to be this, like, I call it this like line in the sand that industry drew, which is at what point does our relationship with the patient stop? And then actually we have to transfer it over to the HCP, et cetera.
Yeah.
And what we saw happen, like even just about a year and a half ago, is that line in the sand started to get pushed back or got changed. Yeah. And what I mean by that is pharma is becoming more aware that they have to build better relationships with their end customer, which is the patient. Yeah. And so, you look at things like Lilly Direct and Pfizer for All, that was pretty groundbreaking in the industry. Like they have now this, like, call it
it's a full cycle customer journey, just like any other industry has. I mean, this healthcare has been a historical laggard across every other industry. And they, I always equate it back to like, think about if you're just shopping for something online, right? Like you have an entire journey you go through to become a customer and then a retention journey, right? It's they realizing that, again, that's why I say like patients are consumers of healthcare, right? And so we have to think of them not as just patients, we have to think about them as these individuals who deserve that same level of experience. And that's that line that's been moving. Yeah. And, it's been validated on top of that. One of the most statistically significant things that has come out in support of our business and where we've seen a lot of momentum is the Edelman report, which, surveys tens of thousands of individuals across the globe. And the fastest growing avenue for patients, to build trust and make decision and who they, go to make healthcare decisions is peers, their friends, family, their networks. And it's growing at a rapid pace, almost to the point where it's eclipsing the healthcare provider themselves.
Wow.
And so you think about that dichotomy of the current landscape. It's patients are being empowered to make decisions for themselves by their network. And, everywhere else in their life, they're beginning this experience, right? Pharma now is adapting to that.
Yeah. I think what's interesting too, I mean, you think about the impact that the internet had on medicine, right? And pharma, but even now, like with ChatGPT, like, whatever, if I had cancer, probably the first thing I do is I would go on to ChatGPT and, whatever, like tell me everything right? Deep research. And
I think it's interesting. I pointed this out. We were at an all-team meeting a couple of weeks ago, and you look at like Grok, for instance, right? Another one of these AI chatbots, and they literally have a functionality for it called "Not a Doctor." Yeah. And you have to think about it's like they obviously did a ton of research to understand what are people asking about to prioritize. Hey, that's an aspect of this that we want to include.
Yeah,
because people are going. It's no more Dr. Google. It's Dr. AI.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, this has been a really fascinating interview. We'll just kind of wrap things up. If you had maybe one or two lessons to share with other founders, of course, you've already shared some really good ones, but any other pearls of wisdom that you can leave the audience with?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to like the fundraising topic. So when you're growing a business and you're a startup, you typically have a small team, and that small team is doing the majority of the things of the business. Like you're going to be wearing 8, 9 hats. And when you go through the fundraising process, it's really easy to drop the ball on a lot of things that are happening and growing the business to focus on fundraising elements. Yeah. And I always try and encourage other CEOs, do not ignore your business to go fundraise. Yeah. Because you need to make sure the business is going to survive regardless if the fundraise is successful, or even if it's not successful, more reason for the business to survive, right? So don't get caught in the rat race. You really have to make sure you don't lose track on where the business is going, and making sure that you continue to put the pedal to the floor on growing the business, because that will actually lead to a successful fundraise, because people want to invest in companies that are growing.
And I would think too, like, there's the time commitment, but there's also the emotional roller coaster, right, that you're riding. Not to, whenever you get shut down, you're like, oh my God, do you lose belief in what you're doing? Or
yeah, I think to that point, it's like, in order to do any of that successfully, or to be a startup founder, like, you think about grit, right? You have to be able to compartmentalize emotion. Yeah. Right. At the end of the day, it's like, if you're emotional, it'll just slow you down, which was like my little, piece of wisdom, if you will, is just like, move relentlessly fast. Like, it's never been easier to do 100 things at once, and everybody's capable of doing it. It's just your choice to be able to do it or not, right? One person can now do 20 things, right? We're going to be living in a time in the next 2 years, we're going to see a one-person unicorn, right? And so it's like, you're empowered now to be able to continue to run the company, fundraise, manage operations, customer support, internal, you can do it all. Right. And I think it's like, whether it's AI, you have an outsourced team to help you. It's just like, be smart and relentless about your time, and move very fast.
Yeah. I guess agents too, right? I mean, that's like the next frontier here in AI is agentic AI, and whatever, like all the whatever back office automation and all these different things that it can.
We were just discussing, people are hiring agents in front of people. Yeah. Like, they have job openings to say, hey, like, come create this agent for us, and they're not doing it via headcount. I think last note is don't grow too fast. Right. Like, a lot of times people like to play this dance and act of like startup world. You raise money, you hire a bunch of people, and candidly, that does nothing more than just slow you down, especially today. It's, don't be bloated by, having to hire a big team when you don't actually need it. Like, when your team isn't sleeping anymore, you guys are taking a heat, like being beat up by how much you're doing, then consider it. Right. But just stay lean.
Cool. Well, this has been a great interview, guys. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. It's incredibly valuable to our viewers, and congratulations on your success, and all the best going forward.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dara. Appreciate it.